Sir, over to you. Thank you very much. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is the first press conference of the National Electoral Commission related to the elections to the European Parliament scheduled for the 26th of May 2019. Let me give you some statistics. We will be electing 52 MEPs on Sunday. As you know, due to the fact that the UK is still part of the European Union, only 51 of them will take their offices. The 52nd person will take his or her office of an MEP once the UK leaves the EU. When it comes to the number of people entitled to vote, there are 29,994,623. As regards citizens of the EU who are not citizens of Poland, their number is 2,133. Until the 24th of May, 2 p.m., the number of POAs 10,828. The number of election packages sent to those who will be voting by letter, 1,063. The interesting fact is the number of certificates on the right to vote. The number, in our opinion, points to the fact that the interest in the elections to the European Parliament this year is higher than 5 or 10 years ago. Why is that the case? According to data as of today, 2 p.m., Poland-wide 118,763 such documents confirming the right to vote were issued. These are issued to people who will be voting outside of the place of their residence. For comparison, in 2014, in May 2014, there were 50,704 people who used such documents entitling them to vote outside of their place of residence. When it comes to parliamentary elections in 2015, for comparison, the number of people who voted based on such a document was 145,702. In Poland, 27,286 constituencies were created. Out of that, 14,342 are polling stations which are friendly to us, people with disabilities. The National Electoral Commission received information about the creation of 26 electoral committees, the electoral committees of political parties, 16, coalition 3, of electors 7. As regards electoral committees that have their lists registered in all constituencies 9, the number of lists of candidates in individual districts 87. The number of candidates for MEPs as of today 866 people, including 404 women. This accounts for 47%. Therefore, the total number of candidates per one mandate is 17, as can easily be calculated. The highest number of candidates were registered in district number 5, Warsaw 2, and number 10 in Kraków. There we have 80 candidates respectively. The lowest number of candidates in the elections to the European Parliament were registered in district number 6 in Łódź, 59. You may find it interesting to know that the oldest candidate is, can you guess? Let's have a quiz. 88, 80 years old. And the youngest? 19. 19 is too old. 21. You won twice. The average age, 1970, 46 years. So people born in the 1970s. As regards to electoral authorities that will be conducting the elections at level of constituencies, so we have 27,286 of them, 227,761 people working in them. This is almost 228,000 representatives of our society who will be working in 27,286 stations. On top of that, we have regional commissions. We have 37 of them. And there you will have 185 people. On top of that, we'll have 13 district electoral commissions with 102 people working there. We often get asked about the possible turnout. We are not the right addressee. You should ask the polling companies. I can only give you some hard statistical data related to the turnout in the past. Some conclusions can be drawn, for instance, based on the number of documents confirming the right to vote. We expect that this year the turnout will be higher than in the past. Let me give you some historical data. 2004, these were the first elections to the European Parliament in Poland. The turnout was 20.9%. In other words, every fifth person with a right to vote decided to vote. On the 7th of June 2009, the turnout was a bit higher, 24.53%. And this has been the record up until now, 24.53. This was the highest turnout in the European elections until now. 5 years ago, on the 25th of May 2014, the turnout was 23.82%. In other words, it was lower than the turnout from 2009. 2009 has been the record year up until now. Let me repeat, 24.53%, and this is going to be our reference when we talk about Sunday results. When it comes to the 30 years of Poland's existence after the elections of 1989, when the turnout was 62%, record turnout that hasn't been beaten up until now, was 1995 presidential elections. In the first round we had 64.7%, and in the second round Wałęsa-Kwaśniewski 68.23%. That hasn't been beaten since then. Nobody came even close. Shameful record has been recorded in Poland. Europe-wide, the lowest turnout when it comes to European elections was registered in Poland on the 6th of September 2015. Back then, as you may remember, the turnout was 7.8%. This is the lowest result in the history of all referendums and elections in Europe. We are the shameful number one, and it seems that this won't change. We also often get asked by you is, when will we have the results? My answer is, once we have the protocols from all the commissions. From our experience, we can say that this can happen late on Monday, or on Tuesday afternoon. We are also ready for the final results to be announced on Wednesday. We also decided to compare Poland with data from other countries. When are the final results published? And for instance, in France, European elections from 25th of May 2014, i.e. 5 years ago, 25th of May was the day of voting, and the results were published on the 28th of May, 3 days later. That would be Wednesday. When it comes to Spain, 2014, elections were also carried out on the 25th of May, and the results were officially announced on the 11th of June, after 16 or 17 days. Slovenia, elections took place on the 25th of May 2014. The results were announced on the 10th of June, well over 2 weeks later. Sweden, 25th of May, that was the election date. Results were announced on the 30th of May. Therefore, when we promise you to do it on Monday or Tuesday or even on Wednesday, we still are within the limits set by those countries that were pretty quick to announce their results in the European elections. As regards the press conferences, shall I announce the times? We plan on Sunday to hold 4 press conferences at 10 until 10:25, 1:30 to 1:55, with some first turnout data. Then 6:30 p.m. to 6:55 p.m. with turnout data as of 5 p.m. And finally 10 to 10:45. We also plan to have 4 press conferences on the day after the election day at 10, 1:30, 6:30 and 10 p.m. Of course, if it's not possible for us to announce the results earlier. We also have a schedule of conferences for Tuesday, the 28th of May, if it turns out that we have to announce them at a later time. We also have a duty schedule for Wednesday. That's everything for me. Let me hand over to Judge Marciniak. Thank you very much. The elections are the ceremony of democracy. As it has been mentioned, it's for the first time that Poles vote in European elections. Previously, this was 2004, 2009, 2014, and now 2019. When it comes to European elections, these are the only elections that are not specified in the Polish constitution. In 1997, when we passed our constitution, we did not consider the entry to the EU. When it comes to the date of European elections, they are set by European institutions, and this year it was stated that the window is between the 23rd and 26th of May. Yesterday we had the elections in the UK and in the Netherlands. Today they are taking place in Ireland, and the Czech elections started. You should know that the Czech Republic is the only country to have European elections on 2 days. Tomorrow we'll have Latvia, Estonia and Malta, and on Sunday all the remaining member states, including Poland. My fourth speaker mentioned low turnout. Let me draw your attention to the fact that one of the tasks of the National Electoral Commission is to stimulate voters and to make them more aware of their civic rights. Each elections form a kind of triangle. The basis are the voters. We have almost 30 million of them. The middle level are constituency commissions, more than 27,000 of them, district commissions, National Electoral Commission, plus the Electoral Bureau. And on top of that, we have all the services that are engaged in carrying out the elections. I may venture out to say that every 120th voter participates in the works of electoral authorities. And the very top of the electoral process are candidates who decided to run in the European elections. There are almost 900 of them, 52, or should Brexit not materialize, 51 will become MEPs. Recently, we were celebrating the 100th anniversary of the first elections to the Polish Sejm that happened in 1919. Back then, the turnout was over 60%. In some districts, it even reached 90%. Right now, the situation is a bit different. We have different life stories, different weather, but I hope that the record of 24% will be exceeded. Yesterday in the Netherlands, the turnout was over 40%. According to the media, the votes are being counted in the parliamentary elections in the largest democracy in the world, in India. Over 900 million voters are present there, and the turnout was 67%. I hope, therefore, that we will have a comparable result this time. Let me also draw your attention to the fact that according to the regulations related to European elections, each voter exercises his or her right to vote in the member state of residence or the member state of origin. This also applies to around a million of Poles abroad. Nobody can vote more than once in the same elections. This also means that people who have more than one citizenship can only vote in the European elections in one member state. And that's it for me. Thank you very much. Let me clarify some technical and formal issues to you, just to remind you and remind the voters. Today at midnight, i.e. 24 hours before the voting day, the election silence commences. That means there is a ban on canvassing, ban on gathering, manifestations, demonstrations, parades, official speeches, publication and dissipation of electoral materials. It's forbidden to hang or tear down posters. Election silence will last until 9 p.m. on Sunday, i.e. the moment when the polling stations are closed. After 9, it will be possible to present first polling data. We had questions about that, so just to clarify the situation, I would like to state that the first results can be published at 11 p.m. since Italians vote until 11 p.m. All estimates about results will only appear after 11 p.m. The polling stations, like in the previous elections, are open from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. A voter should find his or her polling station. If there's a person who doesn't know where to vote, it's possible to use the search engine on our website. I do encourage you to visit our website. We present there a visualization about the elections. The address is wybory.gov.pl. You can type in the street name, the name of the village or the town, You can also look for the information in your local authorities, in the press, and once a voter knows where to go, it's necessary to have an identification document on you in the polling station. This document has to be a document with a photo. It can be a personal identity card, but it can also be any other document that will allow the Commission to verify the identity of the person. When it comes to people who have just turned 18 and do not have an identity document, the identification document can be a military identification card, school identification card, any document that doesn't awake any doubts on the side of the Commission is good enough. For the first time, the National Electoral Commission in its guidelines allowed the possibility of presenting so-called M-identity available under the M-Citizen app from the Polish government. Let me explain. On your smartphone, you have all data from national registers, such as the national identity number. The data is updated. It bears a hologram, which is optically variable. There has to be a dynamic element, so-called moving flag, and this will be the element that will differentiate it from all other print screens or screenshots that won't have this functionality. It has to have the date of the last upgrade and the flag and the official symbol of the Republic of Poland. Our commissions, our district commissions were trained how to verify the identity based on that app, and it's possible to use it in these elections. When the voter signs the voter's list, which is compulsory, he or she gets the ballot paper. This time the ballot paper will be A4 or A3 size. There won't be anything bigger than that. This is something a bit bigger than A4. The voters surely know it already from the last elections. We have the following information: European Parliament elections, the list, the names of electoral committees, logos that we had already previously on the ballot papers. These are the logos, graphical symbols of the committees. At the bottom, very simple and comprehensible instruction on how to vote. Find the list of candidates you wish to vote on. Put an X mark next to the surname of your selected candidate on one list only. And I keep repeating the simplest principle: just one X in one box next to the name of one candidate. It's also important to verify the following facts. At the bottom, there should be two stamps. One is printed. The second one is placed by the local electoral commission. We urge the voters to verify whether both stamps are there. This was frequently the reason of protests after the last election. Sometimes somebody forgot to put the stamp, or two ballot papers were sticking together, and that's why one of them was not stamped. In such a case, the ballot paper is invalid. Hence, whenever a voter notices that there is no stamp on the ballot paper, it's necessary to inform the members of the Commission about it. When one X mark is placed next to the name of one candidate, the ballot paper should be folded so that nobody can see the vote. Secrecy is mandatory. The voter should place the ballot paper in the ballot box. Just like during the previous elections, we shall have one member of the Commission next to the ballot box. And it is our civic duty to go and vote. As regards being on the voters list. I must admit that we had a range of questions from people who added their names to the lists of voters during the last elections. The people were often asking whether they have to undertake any other actions during these elections. Very often people had problems during the last elections. However, if they added their name to the list of voters during the last European elections or parliamentary elections, there's no need to do so again. The only problem may occur that if a person's list was not on the voters list in 2015, I would advise them to check it. There have been some administrative changes. A register of voters is a document kept by municipalities. Anybody who's registered to live in that municipality is automatically registered there. So if you don't live in that municipality, you can be added to the register, and then your surname will surely be in the register of voters. That's why we were emphasizing that you should apply for your document confirming your right to vote to your municipality. This is sufficient. We were asked whether other actions need to be taken. No, that's absolutely sufficient, and that entitles the person to vote in Poland or in the territory of the EU or any other vessel. I do encourage you to visit our website. We have a visualization of the elections. There we will also present information about all subsequent elections. This will be a website reserved for elections only. That's our plan, to present the citizens with all necessary information in one place so that people don't have to look for information. For the time being, we only have data related to the European elections scheduled for the 26th of May 2019 there. Judge Marciniak? My colleague mentioned our commissions abroad. There are over 200 of them in 90 countries. Normally they are located in the embassies or consulates. Let me emphasize that based on the information that we received, we have a higher number of people interested in voting abroad. During the last elections, there were around 36,000 of them. Right now, we are close to 107,000. These votes will go to District Commission number 4 for the capital city of Warsaw. Let me present to you the procedure for allocating the mandates for MEPs. There are 4 steps included. Firstly, it's necessary to determine which electoral committees have reached the so-called electoral threshold. As we commonly know, the threshold in Poland is 5% of valid votes countrywide. So only those committees whose lists obtained at least 5% of valid votes participate in the division of mandates. Mandates are divided among entitled committees. It is here that we divide 52 mandates among the entitled committees. We use the D'Hondt's method. For each committee, the total number of votes is divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. And after the second step, for each committee, we know the number of mandates countrywide. That's just the number of mandates. Then the third step, we divide the mandates among district lists of a given electoral committee. We use the so-called greatest rest method. The number of mandates for a given committee is multiplied by the number of votes on a district list of a given committee, and the number is then divided by the total number of lists countrywide. And after the third step, when we know the numbers of mandates for individual district lists, we proceed to step 4, namely, we decide which candidates get the mandates. mandates are given to candidates who achieved the highest numbers of votes. That's how the process of defining who gets the European Parliament mandate will look like. Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Krzysztof Horvat, TOK FM. Good afternoon. Let me ask about the division of mandates. Could you explain the floating mandates issue? How are they calculated? Who gets them? And what does it depend on? Well, the process is pretty complicated. It depends on the turnout in a given constituency and the number of votes cast on a given electoral committee. You might say that the locomotive can pull more mandates to a given constituency. However, it's too early to talk about it right now. We need to at least know the number of committees who cross the electoral threshold. Then it's pure mathematics. Just like in the case of parliamentary elections. Ladies and gentlemen, most of the European member states have the following system. One country is one constituency. That would be much simpler. In Poland, the situation is much more complex. It cannot be explained in simple language. I would say that's more advanced mathematics. There are 3 different ways, 4 steps for mathematical calculations. Can it happen that there won't be any MEP from a district? No, it seems not. Theoretically, yes. Practically, we haven't had a situation like that in the past. Madam Minister, how to cast valid votes, how to avoid an invalid vote. What I mean are the additional drawings that you get frequently questions about. And as for the election silence, the first results from other countries can be presented on Saturday and Sunday. What's the formal opinion of that? Well, as regards canvassing, Polish law relates to canvassing an electoral campaign in Poland. They don't regulate anything concerning other countries. When it comes to all drawings, I would say that yes, in line with the current law, it's allowed to make drawings or to write something on your ballot paper. But let me remind you that if there are true crossing lines in your drawings, then if there's another X next to the name of your selected candidate, this may invalidate the vote. Because, as I said, there's just one X mark in one box. If there are 2, that invalidates the vote. Simply refrain from making any comments. That's my simplest advice. We keep asking people to do so. Treat it seriously, please. And place just one X in one box next to the name of one candidate. Madam Anna Krawczyk, Polsat. Are you getting any information related to the flood, stating that people might find it difficult to reach their polling station? Yes, indeed. We keep monitoring the situation, and it is indeed very dynamic. Today, I cannot say what will happen on Sunday, especially since the wave is going north. The worst situation relates to the area of Tarnobrzeg and Tarnów. We are still in contact with our field officers and with the crisis response teams. The municipalities are aware of the fact that perhaps it will be necessary to change the seat of the polling station. The code clearly foresees that in the case of emergency or situations, it is possible to organize the works of a polling station in a place different than the place that was given on the official announcements. We keep monitoring the situation, and I can't tell you what the future will bring, yet the municipalities are ready for that. And Mr. Patryk Michalski, Polish radio, the program 1. What about the Bravo alarm level that the Prime Minister introduced yesterday? It will end on Thursday, 4 p.m. Does that impact your alertness, the alertness and readiness of IT systems? Indeed, we have the alarm level that was announced by the Prime Minister. We, however, were in a state of readiness much earlier. All the actions that were planned fit within the procedures related to this alarm level. In other words, our work remains unchanged. We are constantly in full readiness. We have people on duty all the time. Are there any further questions? If there are no questions, I would like to thank you very much for coming here. The next conference, as we heard, will take place on Sunday at 10 a.m. And we do encourage you to visit our websites and to follow our profiles in the social media. Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. See you on Sunday.